Greetings and salutations, folks. I hope everyone is doing well, and welcome to today's upload. Before we jump on into it, a quick couple of links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman, Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. These audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click the like button. It takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads that I put out daily, click the bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment and share the video. Why? Well, these things, they really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. They definitely do matter, and they are appreciated. And with that, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to today's upload, shall we? So, Thursday, Friday, I dipped my toes into the Epstein case files. Wanted to talk a little bit about some things that I had looked into. Obviously, everyone's looking into it. Everyone's reading the same things. You know, you go to justice.gov/Epstein, keyword pizza, and you are exposed to some of the most disturbing emails and information by the elite of the United States. Instantly, I'm brought back to Jimmy Savile, Sean Atwood, an amazing podcaster. I've been blessed to be able to do an interview on his channel. He did an interview here. Covered the Jimmy Savile stuff like no one else. And, you think of, because of David Icke, we think of these reptilian being royalty. Well, what is royalty? They're elites. What is elite? Money. I believe Epstein to be a reptilian shapeshifter, part of the Luciferian agenda. And obviously, it's coming out that he was quite possibly part of Mossad. Now, Mossad, clandestine agency, Israel's clandestine agency, is some of the best at interrogation techniques, spying, violence. There's a case where someone that they infiltrated were on I don't remember the floor of the hotel, but a floor that someone's not getting into. You can't climb to get into that floor from the outside, up or down. He was assassinated by Mossad, and when he was found, all the doors were locked inside of that room. And there was no way of locking how it was. It was just impossible for someone to assassinate him and leave with that door being locked the way it was. To me, either portal was used or some sort of shape-shifting technique, whatever. I believe quite possibly that the majority of these clandestine agencies are reptilian. You have to have a sense of there's a little bit of sociopath when you are in these agencies. Coldness, extreme violence at times. Things a regular human doesn't want to do unless working with their reptilian brain. It's coming out that Epstein was part of Mossad. Ghislaine Maxwell's father, part of Mossad. And we're finding out through these case files that all of these horrendous things are getting done to children. And if you go back in time and you start to look at a lot of information coming out of like Sumerian text and things like that, you are going to see these reptilian creatures specifically going after children, eating them, doing other horrendous, despicable things too, targeting the weakest link in the human chain. And I believe Epstein, I believe that he is still alive, and I believe that he is a reptilian shapeshifter. I shared a video with one of his alleged victims, and she states that while in the act of almost being hard-R'd, that he changed into this reptilian form. And you hear a lot about that in these, when these reptilian creatures are human in their human form, and they are attacking, the reptilian side shows just briefly. It's like a flash. Someone's getting attacked by a person and their eyes show that kind of slit pupil, tongue. So I don't doubt it in any way. And I believe that without a shadow of a doubt that he really is part of this just disgusting elite NWO Luciferian agenda. And I'm going to share some information with you that I stumbled upon. The interview with Juliet Bryant, I'll put in the video. Actually, I'll play it right now for you.
When I was in the bedroom with him, because he used to take me into that small bedroom, and it was always dark and really cold. Looked at him and suddenly his face grew big like this, and then I saw these huge black eyes like this, and then a big mouth with this horrible tongue and this sort of dragon horn stuff, which is almost like the devil, or I could have been drugged, I don't know, because again, when you're in a place like that, they could slip something in your drink.
To start all that off with, I had talked a little bit about a person named Sir Lawrence Gardner, who, according to Arizona Wilder, he was a reptilian shapeshifter, as well as worshipping Moloch. And I kind of want to say something, because I had said, Satanism, this and that, and there in a comment someone said, stop labeling us, with Epstein and whatnot. And I was just like, I didn't know how to respond, so I didn't. But I when you're worshiping a demon, what do you expect, But according to Arizona Wilder, who was a abductee, this Sir Lawrence Gardner was part of the Royal Court of the Dragon sovereignty. And then another whistleblower named Seward Lowe was at Montauk, and he shares about how he had witnessed these humans coming through these deep underground facilities and shape-shifting, or just like I said, that periodic or that brief glimpse of the eye, a forked tongue, or whatever. And during the Montauk Project, many children were targeted. The Montauk boys, there were young girls, young boys being brainwashed by MK Ultra to be super soldiers. If they didn't cut the grade, what do you think happened to them? They were more than likely sacrificed, quite possibly consumed. And there's these things called Montauk rituals, which occurred there, performed by these reptilian shapeshifters, these elite. And if any of what I'm deep diving into is true, it is terrifying. And I almost don't want to share it, but it's got to be shared. It's got to be talked about, because there's, if you look at who is running the game, who's running this gambit, or whatever you want to call it, you've got Mossad controlling or being Epstein. Epstein is Mossad, or works for Mossad. And then you have the cabal, and you have all of these consumption of children. And then there is a certain lineage of people or shapeshifters that are part of the Illuminati that control certain realms of media, big pharma, military-industrial complex, and they are all controlled by these reptilian creatures. Their shape-shifting is terrifying to think about, because there are locked sequences and open sequences in the DNA. Open sequences manifest physically as a characteristic. These people have the ability to lock off certain genetic codings while they open others. When that happens, there is a literal transformation in the cellular structure, which changes from mammalian to reptilian. So it's not like the human form goes anywhere, it just shifts. It changes into a reptile form, then becomes, those sequences are opened. They also have the ability to shift right back to the mammalian form or human form. But they don't need mammalian hormonal levels in order to maintain their human form. Their baseline form is reptilian. Princess Diana's confidant, Christine Fitzgerald, stated that the House of Windsor wanted to interbreed with Diana's genes because they were in danger of becoming too reptilian in their genetics and would not have been able to maintain a human form for many more generations. That's in David Icke's book, The Biggest Secret. All human on Earth have reptilian DNA. We have the reptilian brain. Just watch a fetus in the womb and you will see it go through a reptilian form before it becomes human. And that's what they are doing. they are able to shift that DNA back to the reptilian form and manifest, that physically. However, when they do that, their psychic abilities are not very strong, and that is why they have ceremonies and why they need mammalian form with human harmonics in order to access higher levels of awareness. This is why people like Arizona Wilder are mind controlled to conduct the ceremonies for them. Where are these ceremonies? Bohemian Grove. And this is terrifying because who do they worship at Bohemian Grove? Moloch. And many people look at these files like 90s, Epstein in the 90s. Well, Epstein was in the shadows in the 80s. Epstein was lurking and on a waiting list for the Bohemian Grove. Around the same time, Ronald Reagan was as well. There is photographs of Reagan and Epstein. There are photographs of Gerald Ford and Epstein. Well before, the Clintons. I mean, she is definitely a reptilian. There's no doubt about it. I don't know about Bill. I'm guessing he's just a tool. She is just too evil not to be. And rumor has it that, and I've heard this, that L. Ron Hubbard, Jack Parsons, and Crawley performed some sort of ceremony, and 9 months later, Hillary Clinton was born. And she is an evil woman. She's just, if there is, you look at her and you can see that she is diabolical, cold-blooded, violent. What is a reptile? That. Reptilians, the Draco, the Draconian are just, they lack in any compassion. They lack in any kind of emotion. And if you've ever watched her talk, it's pretty evident. And then you've got Maxwell Galene at Chelsea's wedding. These reptilians stay together. They stay together so they're stronger when they are together. They feel safer when they are together. When they're separated, they're more vulnerable. There's less of them than there are of the humans, but together they are stronger than humans. Jeffrey Epstein in 1982, Ronald Reagan, Gerald Ford, CIA, and other spies. In 1982, Jeffrey Epstein was 29 years old. He was with luminary figures such as former President Gerald Ford, George H.W. Bush, Hollywood heavyweights like Frank Sinatra, Jack Nicholson, and others. It is with some never before seen photos that we can look at MK Ultra, Gerald Ford. There's a book, Gerald Ford, MK Ultra. And it's a disturbing book. But, you have evidence of Epstein with all of these people. And there's a creepy photo. I'm going to try to share this photo with you. There's a creepy photo of Epstein with a woman who, from the neck down, could quite possibly be in her 30s, but from the top up, is quite terrifying. She's old looking, haggard looking. And I can almost see a reptilian. And then you look at his face at 29 years old and you see evil. You see the evil. And so he's been around, he's been lurking in the shadows since long before. Protected. They were honing him. The Luciferian agenda were honing him to, they essentially created a spy that could just blend in. Just blend right in. Share that picture with you right now, and then I'm going to go deeper in some more evidence of why I believe him to be a reptilian shapeshifter. You know, and it's if CIA created the word conspiracy, you know, they knew this shit was going to come out eventually. They knew they had a contingency plan in case, just in case, because the Luciferian agenda is not, they've been playing the long game for a long time. They are not dumb. They're not in any way weak. They're friggin' dangerous, and they want to wipe out humanity. There's an operation called Fortress Americas. Not Fortress America, but Fortress Americas. And supposedly what I've read in some government black project information is certain people within the elite want to control the Western Hemisphere. You get someone like Epstein, you get a creature like Epstein to manipulate, to work within these elites of America and get the goods on them, you know. And it's not hard for a country. Here, it's harder for a agency to create a multi or a billionaire than it is for a country to create a billionaire. A country that is notorious for spying and notorious for being brutal, being violent, being reptilian. $2 million for a country, for a mansion in New York City is nothing. For an agency it is, but for a country it's not. Here's that picture of Epstein with that strange looking woman in the same party as Gerald Ford and Frank Sinatra. He's been around for a long time, longer than most believe. Here's that photo. Just, you know, you see him, he's very, very odd looking, very creepy looking in general. Almost looks lizard-like in his face. But then you see the woman that he's standing next to. Like, when I first saw the picture, I'm like, Marilyn Monroe? I'm like, oh, and then I saw her face and I'm like, oh! But then you look over and there's Gerald Ford and Frank Sinatra at the same party, mingling with a nobody. At 29, he was a nobody, but he was somebody. Just nobody knew who he was except for the elites. Then we're talking about a man who handled affairs for the Rothschilds. the Rothschilds, part of the Illuminati. That name right there is enough to scare people. And that if you, I hope you're seeing the connections that I'm making right here. Mossad, the Rothschilds. It's evident. Moloch. So these elites, the Rothschilds, they all have their kind of places to go, right? And Bohemian Grove is one of them. And what did I just share? That picture that I shared. You have a party with Ronald Reagan, Gerald Ford, Jeffrey Epstein, CIA, on top of Mossad. We already know Epstein was doing the dirty business dealings with the Rothschilds. So in 1981, the Bohemian Grove prominent members, all right? There's a waiting list of 1,500 notables, all eager to pay the $2,500 initiation, $600 fee. That was in 81. $2,500 is nothing now, but it's August of 81. A partial list of prominent members: George Shultz, Stephen Betchel, Gerald Ford, Kissinger, William F. Buckley Jr., Fred L. Hartley, Merv Griffin, Thomas Haywood, Joseph Coors, Edward Teller, Ronald Reagan, A.W. Clausen, George Bush, William French Smith, Caspar Weinberger, Justin Dart, William Simon. That's just some of the list of the people who are there. Recent information may radically change the perception of Bohemian Grove. Not merely drunkenness, unbounded use of alcohol, drugs, with vague homosexual tones, but report activities much more serious. Abduction, hard R, hard P, Sodom and Gomorrah, where the word Sodom comes from, ritual taking people out. Investigation is blocked under the 1947 National Security Act. And like the Omaha Child A case, includes illegal detention of children. That's what's happening at the Bohemian Grove. These members are what? Elites. Elites, right? And then what do they worship at the Bohemian Grove? Moloch. Moloch is who they worship. And it is disturbing. He is an owl. He is depicted as an owl. And I will share that information with you right now. Now, Moloch, there are biblical references to Moloch, the owl god. And we'll get right into that. 1 Leviticus 18:21. Do not give any of your children to be sacrificed to Moloch, for you must not profane the name of your God. I am the Lord. Leviticus 20:2-3. Say to the Israelites, any Israelite or any alien living in Israel who gives any of his children to Moloch must be put to death. The people of the community are to stone him. I will set my face against the man, and I will cut him off from his people. For by giving his children to Moloch, he has defiled my sanctuary and profaned my holy name. 1 Kings 11:6-7. So Solomon did evil in the eyes of the Lord. He did not follow the Lord completely, as David his father had done. On the hill east of Jerusalem, Solomon built a high place for Chemosh, the detestable god of Moab, and for Moloch, the detestable god of the Ammonites. 2 Kings 23:10. He desecrated Tepeth, which was in the valley of Ben Hinnom, so no one could use it to sacrifice his son or daughter in the fire to Moloch. Jeremiah 32:35. The people of Israel and Judah have provoked me by all evil they have done. They set up their idols in the house that bears my name and defiled it. They built high places for Bala in the valley of Ben Hinnom to sacrifice their sons and daughters to Moloch. Though I never commanded, nor did it enter my mind that they should do such detestable things, and so make Judah sin. Now, Moloch or Moloch is an ancient Canaanite deity, primarily associated with child sacrifice in the Bible and the Middle East, particularly around modern-day Syria, Lebanon, and Israel, worshipped as early as the 14th century BCE. The name blends the Hebrew word king with shame, reflecting deep condemnation of these rituals. So I've done videos on this, and I've talked about the Nephilim. I've talked about St. Christopher and why he's depicted as a cynocephaly, dog-headed humanoid. And now in Canaanites, they were supposedly the descendants of the Nephilim, the Raphim, the Anakim, and if they were descendants of the Nephilim, they would, of course, look humanoid, but larger. And when the Anunnaki or the reptilian demons, once the angels that came down from heaven and bred with the daughters of men, when they came to and had, they had their children with the daughters of men, but they also did experimentation. They also bred with animals. So that may explain where these dogmen come from. On top of in Sumerian text, there's a dog-headed race of alien/demons, which may just be, in fact, the offspring of the fallen angels when they were breeding with animals, the daughter of men. They also were doing experimentation, genetic experimentation, even back then. So that's who Moloch is. And so you have a god worshipped by descendants of the Nephilim. Reptilian-like creatures. There is a picture of Epstein with Ghislaine Maxwell at Bohemian Grove. It doesn't say what year, but in mid-July each year, Bohemian Grove hosts more than a 2-week encampment of some of the masters of the universe. It is here at the campground in Monte Rio, California, surrounded by redwoods. It's a secret boys club for the rich and powerful. So we don't know the year, but most definitely he was a member. And by being a member, what happens at Bohemian Grove? Well, child sacrifice at Bohemian Grove. The complex behind the scenes story of what is going on in dark sanctuaries of the world power is coming into view piece by piece. A lot is still hidden, but that has as much to do with our collective reluctance to truly confront the darkness as anything else. Evidence and information about our world's elite continue to mount, thanks to testimonies of brave whistleblowers and the work of courageous investigators, that we are fundamentally dealing with people who have lost all strands of their moral fiber and who commit unthinkable acts of depravity and inhumanity that somehow serve to solidify their hold on power, wealth, and world pleasure. As we continue to learn ourselves to the fundamental character of our world's finance and political elites, it becomes very important for us to suspend our outrage for a moment in order to singularly focus our minds on the understanding about how our human brethren, or reptilian brethren, could choose to walk so far astray down a path of lacking in morals. At the very top levels of planetary control, who tries to control planets? Demons and aliens, or they are the same thing as we know. Reptilian, Draco, Draconian, Greys. At the very top of levels of planetary control, there appears to be a secret group or secret society. Call them the Illuminati, Cabal, or whatever you wish. One of the fundamental strengths of this group seems to be their ability to entice people who have risen to positions of power to join their secret fray, at least at some level. They are experts at appealing to the drivers of the human ego. And with unlimited resources at their disposal, only the strongest and most grounded are able to resist their delivery of promises of worldly pleasure and, subsequently, threats of pain. The inner circle of this group radiates outward from the core members to new initiates. The further from the inner circle, the less is revealed. New initiation of the group seems to be based on the invitation from friends and colleagues who are already involved. Rarely, if ever, does a person step into this world without the assuming hand of a trusted friend leading him to the outer circle. Once there, the initiate's behavior is carefully and secretly observed by members in the know. If the opportunity persists itself, the initiate is proved with an opportunity to take a step inward, either by a direct invitation or the unfolding of the situation in which the initiate may be revealed to have comprehending ego-driven desires. There is likely no direction, but rather a subtle form of persuasion, as it remains important the person makes their choice by free will, which then defines that person in their own mind. This way, the person identifies with their own behavior and choices, and may therefore be more inclined to continue moving deeper in. Every year, the top movers and shakers of the world, male only, are invited to an exclusive weeks-long vacation in July at the Bohemian Grove, a restricted 2,700-acre campground located in Montreal, California. The blueprint is tried and true. Many or most high-profile celebrities, politicians, businessmen are attracted to rich surroundings, indulgence of their senses, the lure of being part of an exclusive club that holds secret mystic that they will always remain hidden from ordinary people. This event is by invitation only, with members having the opportunity to invite guests. One thing that is made clear to all who is invited, though: what happens at Bohemian Grove stays at the Bohemian Grove. At the entrance, guests are met with a plaque displaying an owl and the words, "Weaving spiders, come not here." It's kind of interesting that if you really think of the elite and who they all are, they're all weaving spiders. So, like that they're little, don't come in, but you're all a bunch of shady, bad people / reptilian, whatever. Some are people, I bet you, like half and half. But the ones that are the reptilian, they are probably the higher up echelon. They are the ones that like have just the, you've got people like Kevin Spacey, right? But then you have people like Epstein and whoever else in the elite are reptilian, who, Rothschilds. Oh, I don't want to keep listing names, but they are probably in some underground area, some like temple, doing ungodly things. The words harken back to Walter Scott's famous line, "Oh, what a tangled web we weave when at first we practice to deceive." It is as if they are warning people about being deceitful, posing as vacationers, but really they're to observe and report back their findings. Such deceivers, the owl seems to be a warning, may end up tangled in their own web or worse. Cremation of care, heavy security at Bohemian Grove, and rough treatment that some journalists and other transgressors, have reported speaks of notions that indeed there are likely nefarious activities going on there. However, the one I'd like to concentrate on now is the well-known child sacrifice, usually played out on the first day of the event, called cremation of care, where a mock child sacrifice ritual is played out. Here's what has been described. The ceremony involves the poling across the lake in a small boat containing an effigy of care. Dark hooded figures receive from the ferryman the effigy, which is placed on the altar, and at the end of the ceremony set afire. The cremation symbolizes that members are banishing the dull cares. At that time, the script was developed. The primary meaning of the word care was synonymous with worry, having more negative than the modern times, when it tends to be associated with positivity and compassion. Ceremony takes place in front of the Owl Shrine, a 40-foot owl statue made of concrete over steel supports. The moss and lichen covered statue simulates the natural rock formation, yet holds electrical and audio equipment in it. During the ceremony, a recording is used as the voice of the owl. We've talked about the elites, the reptilians, the tie into Epstein, and why, like, this creature, and I'm saying creature because that's what I truly believe he is, even if he's not a reptilian, he's still, or was, a creature. I believe he's still alive, and I believe he is a reptilian shapeshifter. But let's just say he's not. Doing what he did made him a creature. So there's a tie-in to all of this. The reptilians, Mossad, Epstein, the elites, Bohemian Grove, money. I found this. United Nations is creating satanic portals to open up globally. Christians and conservatives alike should be quite literally outraged at this point by what our government and the United Nations are bringing people to, not just the United States, but the entire world. As if it weren't enough, the UN is building temples of Baal in New York City in Great Britain. And they hope to build one of these temples in every major city worldwide. Now, who is Baal but another Canaanite god? Or deity. Baal, meaning Lord or Master in Semitic language, was a prominent Canaanite fertility storm deity worshipped throughout the ancient Middle East as the son of El. He is revered as the sustainer of crops and life, often depicted with a lightning bolt, and central to myths involving battles against death and chaos. Baal, frequently depicted in the Old Testament as a false god and rival to the Lord, often enticing the Israelites. So the UN is building these temples, right? Michael Snyder states, I am aware that the title of this article sounds fake, but it is actually completely true. The Temple of Baal, or Bel, was a world-famous landmark in Syria. In August of 2015, the temple was destroyed by ISIS, and much of the world recoiled in the horror at the loss of the cultural heritage site. In an attempt to preserve history, 2 exact replicas of a 50-foot ark located at the entrance of the temple will be erected in April of 2016 at Times Square, New York City, and in London at the Trafalgar Square. We don't need to say that a lot of people are very worried about this. In ancient times, child sacrifice was common practice at the altars of Baal. And now we are placing a monument to the worship of a false god in the heart of the most important cities. This is not an internet rumor. This has been reported by New York Times. While their rituals have been adorned with flowers and art, their basic principles and practices remain disturbing. One, Nimrod, who was responsible for the construction of the Tower of Babel, was the first figure of the Antichrist. 2, the first world economy was created by Nimrod. 3, the first world government created by Nimrod. 4, the first religion in the world was created by Nimrod. 5, occultists and Luciferians firmly believe that Nimrod will be resurrected to rule the world once again. 6, origins of Baal worship evolved from the fallen angels and their offspring, the Nephilim. As a side note, Nephel means he fell. Babel is defined as confusion and the gate of the gods. Babel, gate of God. According to the Bible, the city named Babel, from the Hebrew word Bel, which means confusion. One question to be asked: are there portals and places of worship for the coming of the Antichrist? Will these portals be used worldwide to transport the Antichrist quickly from one place to another? Only time will tell. Child sacrifice to a Canaanite god, archways being made to another Canaanite god, deity, demon. Reptilian humanoid shapeshifters. Epstein being one of the biggest people to control other people. You know, I had mentioned Clinton before we end this. I had mentioned Clinton, right? Epstein and Clinton. Hillary. Hillary's just an evil person. Like I said, you can look at her and you know just the evilness. It resonates from her very pores. Bill, I'm not sure if he's a reptilian, but I feel like Hillary really is. But Epstein's most prized possession, not a car, not a house, was a painting of Bill Clinton in the dress Monica Lewinsky had worn, sitting in a chair looking like a burlesque dancer. Why would that be his favorite thing? Favorite painting? Favorite? Well, because you've got the ins, you've got the dirty deeds, dirty secrets on a president whose wife may be a reptilian just like you, Epstein. Terrifying. And then to eat the children and do whatever else is just horrific. And with that, I hope you all enjoyed today's upload as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I'd like to thank you all for supporting this channel. It is, after all, your support that helps the channel to continue to grow and go, and what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free. Everyone is simply treated with the respect that we deserve. Stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and our friends. These creatures are real. These events have happened. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for the truth, and God bless you all.